Okay, let's dive into this. For 10 seasons, the beloved sitcom Friends felt like a perfectly clear window into the lives of six inseparable people, right? We watched their triumphs, we winced at their failures, and we laughed at countless moments that, to us, seemed like a completely unbiased reality. But in today's Explainer, we're going to look at this classic show from a completely new, genuinely mind-bending angle.
I want you to shatter your preconceived notions for just a second. What if every single joke you laughed at, every heart-wrenching breakup, and every deeply awkward moment wasn't an objective recording of events? What if instead, absolutely all of it was filtered entirely through one person's memory? Suddenly, the whole series starts to look very, very different.
So part 1, through Ross Geller's eyes. We're going to explore the incredibly compelling theory that the entire story is actually told from his subjective perspective, turning him from just a friend into our narrative guide.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we define subjective memory. It's basically our natural human tendency to experience and recall life by subconsciously placing ourselves right near the center of the story. And think about how perfectly this applies to Ross. Sure, he's often the butt of the jokes, he suffers through embarrassing moments, failed marriages, social disasters, the whole shebang. But despite all of that, he's consistently portrayed as deeply intelligent, highly romantic, and he essentially forms the emotional backbone of the series. Because when you think about it, we all experience life from our own point of view. If this show is Ross's recollection of events years later, well, his own struggles and victories are naturally going to feel especially significant.
Moving on to Section 2. Idealizing Rachel Green.
If Ross really is our storyteller, we have to take a close look at Rachel. From the very beginning of the series, she isn't just another friend in the group, is she? No, she is the dream that Ross has loved for years. She's beautiful, charismatic, funny, and capable of inspiring intense emotions in pretty much everyone around her. She seems almost larger than life and flawless, but it makes you wonder, is this the objective Rachel, or is this simply the Rachel that Ross remembers?
This brilliantly illustrates the concept of romantic memory. You see, when we look back, especially on romantic experiences, people tend to become idealized. Years after the fact, we don't necessarily remember someone's exact words or exactly as they were objectively. Instead, we remember how they made us feel. It adds this whole new psychological layer to their famous relationship. It really explains why his feelings for her rarely disappear.
Which brings us to Section 3, simplifying the supporting cast. Let's see how subjective memory alters our perception of everyone else.
You know, subjective memory doesn't just change how we see our romantic interests. It fundamentally alters our perception of everyone around us, especially our rivals. Just think about how the brain organizes social memories regarding Joey Tribbiani. Objectively, on paper, Joey should be almost impossible to compete with. He's charming, he's confident, he's an effortlessly social competitor, he's a genuine threat to Ross in the dating world. Yet in memory, how is he actually portrayed? As this lovable, extremely naive goofball. And yeah, Joey is genuinely funny, but people naturally simplify others and exaggerate certain characteristics in their long-term recollections. The objective threat level Joey poses is completely minimized, while his innocent traits are totally amplified.
We can rapidly map out the rest of the group to see this exact same reduction of complex personalities. Monica is intensely driven, competitive, and organized. Chandler is boiled down to the endlessly sarcastic best friend. Phoebe is wonderfully mysterious and unpredictable. Every friend possesses these very clear, larger-than-life characteristics. It's almost exactly as if they're being filtered through someone's long-term recollection, reducing complex people into a handful of defining traits.
Okay, on to Section 4. The dramatic highlight reel.
Have you ever actually noticed how unbelievably dramatic the events of this series are compared to messy, random, and often totally boring real life? Just walk through this timeline. Seasons 1 through 6, 3 divorces. Season 4, a London wedding. Season 8, a mistaken proposal. It's absolute chaos. But it makes sense because, in memory, people naturally reshape events into meaningful stories. If Ross were mentally replaying the most important years of his life, he'd leave behind a highlight reel of emotional drama, while the countless ordinary, boring days just completely disappear.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 5, Closure and Storytelling, where we look at the final clue hiding right in plain sight.
That clue is the series finale itself. After 10 seasons of obstacles and missed opportunities, it all finally culminates. Ross and Rachel finally reunite. The woman he loved from the very beginning chooses to stay, and the story comes full circle. Now, while this is exactly how the actual show ends, look at it from our new perspective. This ending carries the absolute greatest emotional meaning specifically for Ross. It perfectly represents the resolution of his lifelong dream. Because human memory absolutely loves closure. We naturally organize our life stories around moments that feel complete, making the finale feel less like a shared group story and a lot more like Ross's own personal conclusion, just naturally fits the way we process our past.
Ultimately, every story changes depending on who's telling it, viewed entirely through their own memories, emotions, and personal experiences. Now, this doesn't replace the show we know and love, of course not, but it reveals how a paleontologist who never stopped believing in love might have colored every laugh and every single heartbreak.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. Whose version of the story would be the most different? If we saw the exact same events from another friend's perspective, what would it look like? Think about it. The answer might be even more surprising than Ross's.